about milking goats.
Okay, what were we talking about?
Milking goats.
Milking a
I
goat.
was gonna try and you interrupted me before I could say that you could do hand milking or like assisted milking.
So, we'll start off with hand milking because you need to know how to hand milk a goat before you can machine milk a goat.
That makes sense.
Cue video of hand milking a goat.
So one important thing that you're supposed to do that we don't show in the video because we did it already is you're supposed to take wipes. You're supposed to clean the udders. But no, they're goats. They're gonna go. They're gonna lay in the grass.
Goats are gonna goat.
They're gonna lay in the mud. You know, so
They're gonna lay in poop.
Poop. Their poop. Other people's poop. You know, they're equal.
Other people's poop. Who are all the people's poop that's in our yard?
You know what?
Who's pooping in our yard?
Maybe the horse. I don't know. Maybe like projectiles.
That's not. You said people.
Okay, not people. Then animate beings. Poop. So.
Anyway, this is why you have to wipe the.
Wipe it down. Then the next step in that is you're gonna want to make sure you strip the teat. So what that means is that you want to get that initial squirt of milk. You know, that's actually, you know, that is step number 2, but there's a 2A. Is first, you have to know how to actually hand milk. Otherwise, you won't be able to strip the teat.
Right, because it's this, you strip it the same way you milk it. It's just you don't squirt it into whatever container you're keeping your drinking milk in.
They're very full. Some feels like they're kind of empty, but even though they look like they are obviously bloated with milk, sometimes their nipple still isn't full. So what you'll want to do in that case is make sure that the nipple is taut and full of milk. So if it's one of like that's not full beforehand, you want to like reach up and like scoop down and kind of think of you like you're pushing milk into the nipple, which is exactly what you're doing. So from there, you're gonna slide down and you want to make sure you're gripping from the top of the teat, and I mean by top as closest to the goat, and then you're gonna want to make sure you're intentionally squeeze as you add more fingers, intentionally squeezing downward motion, like kind of like in a wave. So, but remember that, so like it's a wave of fingers down, not a pulling. So that's why it looks like you're like the nipple is being pulled, but it's actually not. It's being squeezed in a downward motion, and so that's how you milk, and that is how you strip the teeth. We'll tell them about the considerations then.
So, obviously, you want a container to squirt into. If you have a bigger container, I don't just mean a container that can hold more, but like a wide-mouthed container, like say a bucket versus a jar, right? It's going to be easier to aim and squirt into that container. Downside is goats are going to goat, and that goat, especially ones that are newer to the milking stand and aren't quite as compliant, might decide to kick and stick its foot right in that bucket and ruin the entire batch of milk. For that reason, I like to go with smaller containers like mason jars instead of large buckets. Also, I would have a separate container for each goat, so if you're doing more than one at a time, or in a row, I mean obviously not at a time. I mean, yes, you could do 2 at a time, like, you know, milking stand right there, and you know.
You keep meandering.
Just saying, it's possible.
So now that we've covered the basics of hand milking, which you really do know about, need to know about when you do assisted milking. So let's just talk about.
We're just showing here the basic setup. What I do is I put a little bit of water whenever I wash this out, and I stick it in the freezer. The bucket itself gets cold, the water freezes, turns to ice, and that just keeps the milk cold no matter how many goats I'm going through, and it has led to much better quality milk for us. We have a bucket that we keep set up ready to go, power cord for the motor itself obviously, this tube next to there. This tube goes to the Y junction. and to the adapters for the udders, clamps, so you can clamp that down if you only need one. And that's about it. We also just use the buckets to keep like wet wipes and stuff like that to clean the goats off. Try and get that set up, have it in place, have it plugged in and everything before messing with the goat, just because the goats get impatient. So turn it on, motor's running, suction should build pretty quickly. I crank the motor all the way up. It's not that strong of a motor. If you use a different model, might have a stronger motor, that might be a concern. With this one, it can be turned all the way up, doesn't matter, will not hurt the goat. All it does is get you more milk more faster.
Yes.
Or better.
Okay.
Faster, stronger.
Oh my gosh.
Jump higher.
No.
You have different sized teats, different shaped udders. Also, especially if their udders are really, really full, sometimes you have a hard time getting a really good seal. So I just hold them for a few seconds there to make sure the pressure builds, and then they should stay in place after that. Then you can let go. Milk should start flowing pretty soon. If it's not, you might need to put a little bit of pressure on the udders just to help it. Also, what I like to do is just put my hand on there, get a little boob action, and massage those udders while it goes.
It just seems. See on your face right when you're gonna say boob action.
It's not necessary, but I find it helps the milk just flow a little better, and especially as you start to get near the end. I don't like to do the normal bumping technique that you might use with hand milking, because you do it while the machine's hooked up and you might break the suction and they fall off, and I mean then. Well, you're not really starting over because you still have a bunch of milk out of the udders by then, hopefully, but you know what I mean. You still lose time, and it's just an unnecessary hassle. So light massage works.
But even that's why it's also important to know with hand milking, because then you'll get a feel for how that particular goat needs assistance in the udder for them to be milked. Then when it's all done, there's still a lot of pressure. These will be stuck on here. I don't like to just yank them off because they're stuck on there pretty good. I don't want to hurt her. You can burp the nipple a little bit. You'll hear the air going in. The goats, for whatever reason, don't like it. I think the sensation is uncomfortable. So the other thing you can do is just pop the line right off. And the goats know this is very transactional. They're getting food in return for boob action. They will let you play with their boobs as long as they have food. I really thought he was going to forget that part. I hoped wrong. As soon as the food runs out, they're like, oh, no more boobs. You're done. Advantages of a machine. One, obviously, it's a lot less work on you. I don't know about you, but my hands start to get a little tired after, you know, milking one goat, much less four. The other thing is, it's just much cleaner. Like, you don't have to worry about hair falling in the bucket or just whatever random stuff off the goat's belly or anything that got kicked up in there when you have four obnoxious goats jumping around the goat or the milking shed at the same time. It's a mostly closed system. Everything's cleaner. I just like it a lot better. Our video, hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was at least somewhat entertaining and informational. Please hit like and subscribe. So I have been informed that there is also a bell. So you hit the bell so it rings. Why are you laughing at me? It gives you notifications, so hit the bell so it'll ring you a notification, because we're going to do more videos. And that's what it does, right?